Hello, everybody. Welcome to the DEWAnDrew conspiracy. I have myself, Mr. Andrew, and my lovely co-host, Mr. Dew, and we are here to conspire with you and spread our message of love and truth to the world. So, with that, we're gonna dive right in. We got a new breathing technique. Let me pop it up here. Oh, gee, there we are. It's called Durga Pranayama, and it's really a practice of kind of sensing into the body and feeling into the lungs. It's essentially a three-part breath. So what you'll do is you'll breathe in kind of into the belly, and then you'll take a little bit more into the middle chest, and then a little bit more to fill like all the way to the top, and then exhale. And I think the idea is to do it through the nose, but but yeah, it's and then same on the exhale, kind of sense that the chest is collapsing, and then the middle abdomen, and then the tummy, and kind of almost suck your gut in, like to flex your abs a little bit, just to push out all of the air. And we'll do that. We'll do that three-part breath 3 times. So if you can settle in, if you're comfortable, close down the eyes, and then we'll take a breath starting into the belly and into the middle chest, and then feeling all the way to the top. And then emptying top, middle, belly, really pushing it out. Ooh. And 2 more. And deep in. And out. Really using all the lung capacity, focusing on filling them up, you know? So we're here, we have conspired, we are co-conspirators, and I think Dew has some lovely poetry to share with us.
And not only full of air, but also full of energy, because that breathing, that conspiring brings the energy together too. So, uh, considering what we're going to talk about today, I have one poem that this is part of my new collection. Psychology Can't Write Like This, or a poetic explanation of schizophrenia. It's going to be 64-page opus, and this is called Psychic Effect, View of Disease. My diagnosis has ironically insulated me from the cruelties of reality, since I've never been involuntarily homeless or even gone 3 days without a bite to eat, for which I thank the Lord. Watching over world, living inspired by progress to health, at entrance into the body duality of creation, while I pursue my destiny as the greatest friend of Christ the Lord, whose presence is constant comfort, vitalized with the blind bliss of insight I see as the function of omniverse, pollinating with a pure benevolence, while the Empress who is forever is dedicated to appreciation of the joys possible within the confines of this gravity well to enliven all creatures, confined to this place by will of God, adored gratefully by vastness of love. That that's a pretty celebratory gratitude poem, but it's also relevant to what we're going to be talking about. So we'll just leave it at that, and I have another one probably at the end of the show if we get to it, but if not, why don't you take it away, Andrew? You wanted something to bring up, and I think it's a very good topic, and it's not your New York Times run of the mill headline. It's the scripture, and just you always say, quoting a verse where Jesus says, "You'll do better. You can do greater than me." And we found the verse, so here it is, and I take it away.
First of all, how did you find the verse? How did it come to you? Just
Actually, it was just like I listened to like Christian YouTubers, and it was just a synchronicities happen, and it just came up. She said, "This is a verse," and I knew basically it was John 14 because that's come up with me a few times before. The whole chapter. In
yeah.
fact, one of my pastors who I talked to was like about to do a sermon on John 14 when I talked to him. So it's a constant thing. But I was just glad to be able to pinpoint the verses and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I said it in the last episode, and you picked up on it, obviously. And your pastor was talking about it, and a YouTuber was talking about it. And then I randomly went to walk Willow. So, Dew sent me the reference, the John 12:14 or 14:12, yesterday. He said, I found your verse, and finally I looked it up and saw what verse it was, and I was like, oh yeah, that's my verse. and and then I went and walked Willow randomly at like 3:30. I don't normally walk her at that time, but she was kind of antsy, and I'd been working on a project most of the day, so I took her for a walk, and she stopped to sniff something, and this car pulled up and parked. And I had her off leash, and so I was looking at the car to see if I needed to put her on leash or whatever. And finally, I was like, Willow, like, all right, you smelled it enough. Like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. And all of a sudden, the door started opening up, so I clip her into her collar. And they come out and they're like, oh, your dog's so cute. And anyway, it's these 3 Mormon missionaries. And so I was sharing a little bit of my experience in my spiritual awakening and mentioned the verse about greater things, that you'll do greater things. And then I signed up for this mass meditation last night, hosted by The Way Forward, and with an intention, setting an intention to bring healing to the chaos we're seeing in the world. So that was beautiful, and during that meditation, that reference was also made to that same verse. So felt like we got it coming from all angles. We should talk about it, right? We should dig into it. And
This is beyond synchronicity. This is like the Lord saying, "Pay attention," right?
yes, indeed. And so it ties in very well to, many of the topics that we bring up consistently, but it's just another angle of attack, another way to understand it, and so I'm going to start on verse 5 because I think that's where things get juicy. Lord,
John 14, right?
correct, yeah. So Thomas is talking, and he's the doubter, right? And he says, "We don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way?" And Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. And then Philip says, Lord, show us the Father that we may, that'll be enough for us. Just show us. And he's like, Philip, like, where the hell have you been? This is my paraphrase. You still don't know me? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father, because the Father is in me and I am in him. Believe me that is true, basically. And then we'll skip to the key verse. Truly, this is verse 12. Truly, truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will also do the works I am doing. He will do these things. My screen is covering it. Hold on. He will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. And I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask me for anything in my name, I will do it. So yeah, I will. he's like, oh, the verse before, that's my, it was getting cut off. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me, or at least believe on account of the works themselves. Like, what is happening around me? Believe in that. And then he goes on to say that you'll do greater things than these because I'm going to the Father. So, that's the preface, that's the context for our discussion today. This concept of greater things and the Father being in me and I'm in the Father. I think I said it in the last show. I'm not saying I'm God, but also I'm not saying I'm God because it's the same concept. God is in me, but there's also a part of me that is in God. And that's Dale's whole story, right? Is I am God. He is. There's part of God in him, and so to me, that chapter sums up basically half of what we've talked about over the course of these first several episodes.
Well, if I can be like completely transparent, the point I've always been had trouble with this idea of like a democratic God, and I mean meaning that I feel that I declared myself God, and basically I got taken into a secret training to make myself to test me to see if I could like stand up to the refinement of saying that. And it wasn't like just a test of like I say this and it must be true. It was an actual test of physical, mental, psychic, every type of body or construct involved in the body that it went through. And so I've always, people say, well, and I understand, I always say this too. Everybody is God. Everybody is like, what's the word Gabby uses? Uh, what's the word?
I don't know. I've heard
Uh,
people
uh,
use
not, whatever source. Not a
fractal.
holo, fractal. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody's a fractal source. And I understand that, but I also feel that there has to be like some sort of primordial source. And that's what I've been building in THC for the last 50 years. And I was binging through your Instagram reels, Commandrew, and I just and you said I came upon this one where you said we have to kiss the idea of objective reality away. There is no such thing as objective reality, and that just brought to my mind my quote in Velvet Before Follies book 200 Plays Iolina, in a world where science is God, the only absolute is Dale. And I feel that I am an absolute. Actually, everybody is an absolute, but they have to take responsibility for it. And one of the things that I do I try to do is to be able to like be a conduit so that people can understand it's not sinful, it's not evil to think that you're God, to tap into that source of God power within you. And but ultimately, you know, and that's why I have an ego interest in saying I'm God rather than just saying I'm a fractal of source. And that might be my weakness and it might be my greatest superpower, but that's where I stand. Dale stands, and I don't. It's not a matter of I'm God anymore either. It's just like I'm Dale of Omniverse. I'm a special entity, and wherever I came from, I am concrete and I am some sort of like absolute reality that people can count on. I did a TikTok today. I did a 60-second TikTok and I just ended it with, I'm the chosen one.
Amazing. Yes. Well, for me, it's about expanding the field of possibilities. And one of the ways you do that is by expanding the permission field. Because we talked about it from the four agreements, right? The judge will tell you, you don't have permission to say that, right? And then you realize there is no judge. You do have permission to say that. And maybe by saying it, you give someone else permission to feel it. And it's, we've been told it's heresy or something, and I think that's on purpose. It's to keep you separated where you can't fully tap into that connection. And that connection is life force energy. It's what powers us, from a spiritual, like, it's our power source outside of this realm. And without it, you're missing, like, huge amounts of energy. It's like, no wonder life is such a struggle without that connection. I can understand why that would be the case.
So,
Um,
just, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you said expansion, someone on YouTube or somewhere today said it's not ascension, it's expansion. And I
yeah.
think that's like essential to understand. We aren't going up through higher dimensions. The higher dimensions are already here. We're experiencing the higher dimensions. So it's an expansion into like a more horizontal, flat earth sort of like type of thing where you're in control of what you can see. I mean, I call this concrete thinking, which is everything that I see is absolutely real. But that doesn't mean that everything that I can't see is real. So basically, you just keep on, your focus of reality is what you can perceive and through your five senses. And if you choose to like dilute that with television or even radio, uh, whatever you can, one to like dilute it with, you can. But if you just keep yourself focused on what you can see and what's in front of your eyes, where your feet are, and as I say, in order to deal, you just plant your feet and you say, "Where am I?"
Yeah. Well, I feel a call to imagination, that concept, right? That's, I mean, part of, like, that childlike essence is like this incredible ability to create and imagine, because there's no limitations for most children, right? Been they haven't all received all of the programming yet, and so they experience the world differently than we do. And one of the ways is that they have amazing imaginations. And so I think, when Jesus points to doing greater things, to me that means we got to be more creative, because I don't I don't see us doing greater things. At least, if we're gonna believe sort of the the lore of Jesus, then we're I don't see it yet. Maybe I'm missing it, or it is happening, but but it's there's more possible, I guess. And so to me that means imagination, that means creativity, that means tapping into what you want to bring into this reality.
Well, I agree completely. And so what you just made me think of is most people think of wealth in terms of fiat cash, but true wealth is creativity and bringing something to the world that will basically could stand forever. And therefore, even though I might always be struggling for cash, I know that I'm one of the wealthiest people in the world because of my archives, because of what I created for the world, and whether it's acknowledged when I'm alive or if I'm dead, and even if it's never acknowledged, then I'll come back and do it again. But that's not going to happen because I have 10. This is my decade of action, so I'm going to be in front and center, and people are going to know me and everything. But the point is that the wealth that I brought to the world, I feel, is so much more invaluable in terms of knowledge and in terms of just like unique perception. Even if you think I'm crazy, I'll admit, I mean, if people want to think I'm psychotic for thinking I'm the chosen one or that, that I'm God, then I've argued that for 50 years and I'm not going to argue it anymore.
Come on.
And the other thing, this is another revelation I had, is that Jesus had his 18 years of silence, and Buddha had his, what, like 8 years of silence? Well, in 64,000 AD, I'm going to have my 50 years of Dewey death silence, and people are going to just like sort of like say, well, what happened between 1975 and 2025? We have no record of Dale. All we know is he showed up in Hackensack.
Yeah, won't that be something? Well, you bring up something that is interesting to me, and it is of this idea of being tethered to the past. If time is non-linear, then the past is just a memory that is contained in this
Right,
skull, and so you can have whatever attachment you would like to have to it, or you can also just not have it. That's also possible, but part of what is keeping us stuck or slowing the movement is our attachment to the past.
right.
And so when I hear things like never forget, I start to the spidey sense goes off, and I'm like, well, why? Why can't we forget that? Why shouldn't we forget it?
Right.
And a lot of times the answer is because that's what we want you to be thinking about. Um, and so
Well,
you
the flip side of that is everybody thinks life is so transient that what happened 5 years ago is going to have a lot more relevance within a lifetime of 50 years than it is going to have it in a lifetime of 500.
I lost you.
Well, so we're talking about maybe you should read that second part of John that we were going to talk about, because this is where it ties into this about the
Okay.
comforter.
Yeah. The comforter, sure. Okay. Do. All right. Let me move this out of the way. All right. Okay. So we continue on. If you love me, you will keep my commandments, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to be with you forever. The Spirit of truth. The world cannot receive him because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you do know him, for he abides with you and will be in you.
Yeah, so that's that's a verse I'm always drawn to. But in terms of what we were just talking about, okay, so the spirit who abides forever. So let's say we really are beyond Fred, and we are in possibly immortal body if we have the strength to persevere. So what I'm saying is, you know, what we meant, well, Sid says the past is a memory carried through time by thought. So basically, memory is only the product of thought. So if you can like break, so what I was saying about 5 years as opposed to 500 years. So if we're in mortal bodies, uh, right now we everybody thinks we're in mortal bodies. So everybody thinks we got like 90 years at the most. So therefore, if you think about the past, even 40 years is still less than half your life. But if you're 500 years old and you think about 40 years, then it's just going to be sort of like a blip that you survived and taught you a lesson.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, there is something interesting about that perception of time and how we have been programmed. I mean, life expectancies. We broadcast them everywhere, and it starts to like eat into the brain a little bit. And then you hear people say, "I'm getting old," or "I'm too old for that," or whatever. It's like,
Right.
bro, like you got most of your life left. How can you be old for most of your life? That doesn't make any fucking sense. And so I definitely have like I mean I listen for the words, right? Some people they hear these phrases and it's like you hear them so often that you don't even acknowledge what they actually are, what they're communicating. And when you can take a step back and have like a little bit of that conscious awareness of what's entering your field and realize, oh, these words, I don't like these words. These words are saying things about me that are not true. And so yeah, but I mean, coming back to the comforter, I mean, it's such an interesting concept. The Holy Spirit, the Spirit that abides. I mean, what do you think that is, or what do you think that in our experience, what is that sensation? Is that like the tingle when we get the tingles? I mean, what do you think it is?
To me, it's the third man. Adam was the first man. Jesus was the second man, and basically cleansed us of Adam's sin. But the third man, I'm not going to personalize it, but I think the third man is the completion of God's plan. It's not necessarily Christ come back in physical form, and and the classical idea of the second advent. It's more like a, a, a body or a person, and this is why I took it personally. Is like after after 4,000 years between Eden and Jesus, don't you think the Holy Spirit would like to have a body too?
I don't know what that means, but sure. I mean, I would say then that
Okay, well, I'll try to clarify it then.
okay,
So basically, the Holy Spirit, Jesus says, "I'll send the Holy Spirit and everything." And I talked about this with my pastor. I said, I've really reached a like new level of like understanding of who I am, and it's beyond like just thinking I'm God. It's more like the Holy Spirit, or and he said you can't be the Holy Spirit. So that's religion. But the fact is that you know my whole existence for dale to dale for 70 years has proven to me that I'm being prepared for a God mission that is eternal, and therefore 70. I mean, uh, God told Abraham when he was 70 to move from where he was. I forget where he was, but basically, God didn't like talk to Abraham till he was 70. So, I know I still have like a great mission. Whether I'm actually the Holy Spirit incarnate or not is really irrelevant to the fact that I feel that I'm into the Lord is guiding me. I'm not speaking for the Lord. I'm not in competition with the Lord. I'm here as a teacher and a mentor to as many people who are interested to hear me as possible. And, as I said, I consider you and me like co-presenters of like ideas that have long meant to be presented but have been suppressed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty close. I have this concept of being someone who like breaks people out of the matrix, or not breaks them out, but just makes them aware that that's the construct that we are in, so that they can bring more awareness to their day to day existence. And then, you know, I have this idea of that expansion spreading out and changing reality.
Right.
Changing, shifting the consensus to one that doesn't involve all the bullshit, and so that means identifying bullshit and calling it out when we see it, and we're seeing a lot right now. It seems in the collective, and
It,
so
it, it also means countering bullshit with absolute information.
for sure, for sure, absolutely. So that's what we're here for. That's the conspiracy we're spreading, and the conspiracy is that it's it's time for us as a species to take responsibility for the power we have through our connection to God, and bring in a new energy, one it that eliminates fear from the equation, and so or at least puts it in a context that doesn't overwhelm the love we feel for each other, and and then that changes the world, because you can't kill someone if you love them. That's not, they can't coexist. So, um,
Well, I think once again we come down to vibrations and frequencies. And,
yeah,
I mean, my quantum, everything, string theory, whatever, everything says we're all like waves of energy, and, we become matter through observation and all that. Well, it's a double slit experiment and all that. But basically, we're all vibrations, and what I feel we've been doing, and we're doing successfully, Andrew, is we're shutting down. Well, I feel there are nine frequencies through which humans communicate, basically nine dimensions, and basically we're shutting down the lower three frequencies of communication, which is how the adversary, the enemy, Satan, devil, whatever you want to call it, basically uses propaganda and domestication to build fear and have people ignore their higher selves, which is the fourth dimension and beyond. So basically, what we're doing, and the Dialina, my spaceship, which is my body, but we haven't talked about that too much lately, but it is a reality, and the reality is that Dialina has shut down the lowest three frequencies of communication among humans. So therefore, there's no that nobody has any choice, because they have no way to talk about things that are satanic, devilish, uh, evil, whatever. And although Charlie Kirk, I never really knew him and everything, but I know who he was and everything. But that was like the spirit of Fred. That was like the last gasp of the spirit of Fred, and he's going to be remembered as a martyr to the Lord. And what, you know that's a great tribute. But uh, you know, but it is like the final breath of Fred's spirit, like exhaling. And at least that's how I see it.
yeah. Well, that's one way to see it. I know it seems like a lot of people are are really putting a lot of energy into the situation. I don't quite understand why. I mean, I know he was a public figure and he had political stances, but there's lots of people who are public figures and have political stances and have been assassinated over the years. But this one seems like, I don't know. So whatever that is indicating, it certainly is pointing to something that is in the current of the collective, right?
Well,
Some energy
yeah,
that's
I think it's important to not get distracted from by this one news event, from like the real suffering that's continues to go on everywhere.
yeah,
And not only the suffering, but the disruption, the social chaos is occurring all over the world and everything. So don't like get like focus on one guy because you like him. I'm in all
well, I
different
mean that's exactly it, right? Like it just seems bizarre how this is like some catalyzing event. Like I mean, whatever. It's tragic. I'm sure, it's not. I don't condone that behavior, but I also don't. I know it doesn't come from nothing, and so we'll see. But you're right. There's a bigger picture. You got to zoom out, and then this is just a little speck. I mean, in reality, so why is it being magnified? That
Well,
seems,
I think it's being magnified because it's really a test to see what the true level of compassion in the nation is.
yeah,
I mean, to really test, is this going to be retaliatory and it's going to start like more and more, more and more bloodshed, or are people going to like really stop and start to say, why did this happen? I didn't like the guy. I think he was extreme. I think he was radical, but he was a 31-year-old father with two kids and a wife, and and he had the courage to speak out what his beliefs were and what's going on. That's something that someone who has the courage to really stand up for what he believes gets shot needlessly. And this is really like what I'm really reacting to. Is like, are people going to unite in compassion, or is this just going like further divide, and people are going to say, well, his message was terrible, and then the others are going to say, well, he's a saint and he's a martyr and everything. So I did a test on Facebook actually. I had like this article by Clint Eastwood about how great Trump was, and I just like posted it on my Facebook page, uh, to just as a test of reaction,
yeah.
and and people were like pretty civil and everything, but it's like, what are you doing, and how, all you're doing is showing how Clint Eastwood is all in on fascism, and but I just like did it as a test to see what the
God,
reaction
you're
was.
such an instigator. Come on, bro. Well, no, that's an interesting take. I like it. Yeah, I mean, I think we're constantly being tested on our ability to hold compassion. And this maybe is just more widespread, or it's like I think Gabby calls him like an egregore, like
Right.
collect, something that penetrates the collective and seems to really, raise a lot of emotions and feelings one way or the other, right? A polarizing figure, they call him, right? So
Right.
he created polarization, and you know in a duality, really. I mean, right? He wasn't going. He was saying something that had an opposite, or a contrasting energy, and so he was bringing one side, and his many of his questioners, or that his audience members would bring the counterpoint, and they would debate. And to me, they're debating utter nonsense in the three dimensions that don't actually matter. Like it's a lot of hot air. That's my
Right.
opinion. It's like a lot of wasted energy
Right.
because like it's we're he was life was dedicated to politics from what I could, and his family and God, that type of thing. But his public persona was
Right.
that, right? Politics, politics, politics. And it's like we're giving all of our energy to politics. And not even seeing that the actual politicians don't give a shit about us. And so it's like a real bizarre scenario of giving away power, and he was so caught up in that from my perspective.
Right.
So fine, whatever. That's the person, but yeah, the symbol that he may become is, I guess, interesting, and maybe that's why it's being pushed. I don't
Right.
know. Or
Well,
or they're trying to create polarizations, a great narrative, because news media feeds off of that.
well,
You know.
I also heard at the same time there was like a elementary school shooting in Utah, and of course that guy like preempted because of this guy. So,
Right.
it's but
Yeah.
we aren't going to delve into politics, but
Well,
basically, we're talking about higher awareness and do you have the awareness to be able to see that this is the reel I sent about disposability. Do you have you lost the ability to see the value of every human being, or do you just think that people are disposable according to how you feel about them? And
yeah.
and then as Pete would say, that's a crisis of modernity, and that's also what Nietzsche Fred would say is the envy of the slave. So um,
Well,
it,
it's how much you are committed to the illusion of separation. That's the way I see it. And if you're
right,
fully committed to it, and if you're fully immersed into the illusion of separation, you see an other, and then you judge it, and you make it wrong or bad because of your book of law, that's been installed, your programming, and now you've dehumanized that entity that is you, that is a part of you that you're connected to at a soul level. And so it's a spectrum, right? And some days we forget and we create another, and other days or times we remember and we see the oneness of everything. And the mission, the growth journey is to, I think, to stay in that state of being able to see the oneness of all. And then compassion feels logical.
right,
you know and then you say, okay, yeah, these people that are being energized by the situation, I can have compassion for them because I understand the programming runs deep. I understand that the systems are built to create a certain outcome, and they're a product of that, and they're not wrong or bad, they're just not aware. And so let's bring some awareness if we can, and see if that shifts their perspective or not.
and I just had a brainstorm, which is what if you ignore the people and just absorb the environment and the atmosphere?
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's a good.
I mean, that's what I do. I just like walk outside. There are people walking. Fine, people, have a great day. But this is such a beautiful day. The sky is so blue, and there are beautiful pillow clouds, and they aren't government clouds, and they're beautiful squirrels, and it's just but instead of and if you see like a beautiful woman, then you take note and everything. But ultimately, unless somebody like comes by and starts talking, but basically you ignore the people and just absorb the cosmic environment that's enveloping you and keeping you safe on Earth.
Sure. I mean, you can focus on whatever you want to focus on. That just sounds like a meditative practice, and that's fine. Meditation is very powerful. In fact, I participated in one last night that was kind of pointing to what we're talking about too. Is like this coherent field of energy, right? That it is expanding, and that we're all sort of linked to as that fractal of source, and so we're bringing like a new level of awareness to our existence, and then also using that awareness to come together to do what we can to help bring more calm, bring more peace, bring more love to the situation, right? To put out the ripples into the world that we want reflected back, and and I think there's a lot of power in that. That's my opinion, and so I could be wrong, but who gives a shit? Like, if I'm right, if I'm
I
right, we
think
change the world.
there definitely is, and what these collective meditations also do is they set up barriers that block the transmission of lower vibration thoughts.
Right. Yeah, there's a
So,
lot of talk about like entrainment and like incoherent fields and sort of how weak they are as far as the frequency that they're in, and how a higher frequency field will sort of entrain and start to put out like it's sending out information, and that information will be received basically. Yeah. Yeah.
so, but so I think this is a good time for Sid for the day.
Right.
We're talking about the three principles. All human behavior and social structures on Earth are formed via mind, consciousness, and thought. In chemistry, two or more elements create compounds. It is the same with psychological elements: mind, consciousness, and thought. These three elements create psychological compounds that are our own personal psychological realities.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
The
so
chemistry of mind, consciousness, and thought.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The, the brain chemistry. I don't know how my prolixin helps those, but
Well, we're on a journey with that. I have my own opinions, but those are mine. But I
you
think
know
it'd
what I
be
figured out today? I figured out that 6 St. John, my mental unit, isn't dialing control anymore. Dialing control is being transferred to the duck nest here.
yeah.
But but 6 St. John is becoming prolixin, is going to become prolixin. So basically that prolixin is the planet of the doctors. So therefore 6 St. John is like my hub for prolixin, planet of the doctors.
What? I lost you there, bro.
The mental unit, the dialina.
I was tracking until okay, sure. Prolixin is also the anyway. It doesn't matter.
Prolixin's the planet of the doctors. That's a medication I've been on for 45 years. So basically, I feel that like basically every drug is a planet, and that's where people go when they take their drugs. And so I've been on Prolixin for 45 years, and 6 St. John was the mental unit I visited 14 times where I created dialina control. So now dialina control, which in my spaceship has been reimplanted in my body. So now 6 St. John is where I call in case I want to get in touch with Prolixin, the planet of the doctors.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Well, I think you should get in touch with the planet of the Earth. I think she's got the best medicine. Mother Gaia will care for you much better than Prolixin.
Well, of course, I have TAC too.
Well, that comes from Mother Earth, does it not?
Absolutely.
There you go. So Gaia's got you, bro. That's the way I see it, and we'll see. We'll see if that becomes your reality or not. But I hold a vision of that for
I
everyone, not just you.
well, the big
My
dream that
belief is you're
you wanted
not. My
me
belief is you're
to.
not broken. What do you think about that?
I appreciate that very much, and but my big roadblock is I promised my mother I would never stop taking my medication,
Yeah, never say never, bro.
and that's the only promise that I've ever made that I've never broken. So
Sure.
you know, and
Well, you are
actually,
taking your medication.
I
It's called cannabis.
I understand, and but actually I feel that prolixin is the big chemical that keeps my brain functioning so
I
well.
know, I know, and that's fine. You can carry that belief. That's a permission slip to allow you to be who you are, and I love who you are. So no
And
issues.
do we need a disclaimer now about how we are medical advisors?
Yeah, we might have to throw this. Yeah, this is for entertainment only. Anything we say can and will be. No, that's a whole other thing.
Right, right. But
No, we're here to have a good time and spread the good news. And if you vibe with
have
it,
fun.
great. And if you don't, then don't. You don't have to be here. No, no. You can leave at any time.
Fun, drugs, and rock and roll. That's our new motto for 2020, but from 2025 onward.
Yeah.
Fun, fun, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah. And on that note, we are not. We are role models.
We are.
Both retired and enjoying life, but we purpose with strong purpose, and I think that's what's important. And this podcast has added to my purpose, and I appreciate this media, this form of art that we get to create.
And it's always a pleasure to always meet new people,
Yeah.
even though we don't meet them officially. But if
Well,
you
we'll
meet
see.
us, leave a comment,
That's
subscribe. We're looking for subscribers, and we are the primordial vibration. We are so, you know, doing this and is Drew Christ. So, what more could you want? And
literally.
as I keep saying, have you ever not trusted an Andy or a Dale?
No, it's not even possible. I don't know if I want to be asking that question because I feel like there's people who have different experiences with Andes and Dales. But
Right, especially Dale's. Especially Trickster Dale.
yeah, Trickster Dale, you gotta watch out. He's suspicious. All right, we're wandering.
Okay, so I gotta be on my way soon, but there's a poem I wanted to read. It's sort of like it's called "Born Duck, Now an Eagle." I was taught to paddle and waddle, but still I always idolized those on high until the moment I took off on flight, led by Mom, who quacked happily, encouraging young flippers to flap, while far above I could see my hero, cruising updrafts I had never felt in the innocence of my lack of training, to reach the heights to which I aspired the second I saw him liberating soaring, and significance of his swoops and dives from above into the lake. My family called home amazed us when he snatched a sizable dinner 10 yards from where I swam, waiting to hear secrets of the seagulls from my silent companion blessing me with his presence, while I reflect the craving of his heart more sacred than the world where we exist.
Okay.
So
What's our
empathizing with the duck.
yeah, yes, gotcha. Yeah. Well, what else do we have, Dale? Is that it?
I think that's about it.
We put Willow to
I just,
sleep. So
oh, okay. But that's a good thing. It means that we're relaxing and soothing the people. Comfort,
yeah,
the comforter.
the comforter has come, indeed.
Yeah. And just so people know, I'll put. I think I have a link tree that I'm going to set up, so people will be able to contact me. And Andrew, is ever great show. I always love it. And one thing, one final revelation that we can go into maybe next time is that I figured out that North Dakota is the nearest thing in 20th century America to Israel, to Nazareth in Jesus' time.
Okay, that's teaser for sure. All right, bro.
Okay, so everybody have a great day, and thanks very much for watching. And we'll be in touch. And Andrew, till next time, always a great show.